Welcome back to a very exciting episode of the Talos of EV podcast. Mike, how does it feel knowing that Rivian listens to our show and we have a very dated episode that's not even a week old yet? My goodness, this is such a ah.
Yeah, I guess it's good to, or it's important to note that we are recording this a little bit earlier than we usually do, so we probably will miss some breaking news and a bunch of other stuff because it seems like every single week there's a whole new thing. Uh, man, yeah, our comments definitely aged like, I don't know, milk sitting on an Arizona sidewalk. Uh,
If
it,
if I may do a terrible rendition to not get any copyright, bump, bump, bump. Another one bites the dust. Boom, boom,
Imagine
boom.
YouTube copywriting
Another
that.
one bites the dust. And another one down.
So,
And another one.
I
And
guess
another one.
for those that don't know, Rivian has folded. They have become another domino in this great line of dominoes and
And
followed
RJ became my
GM,
best friend.
right? Where they
Yeah.
are adopting the NACS port basically in the same exact way. It seems like everyone's going on the same deal of adapter in 2024 and then port integrated into the vehicle in 2025. Are you okay with that? Do you think that's a good enough time frame for you to get your funds ready for an R1T, Randy?
Well, listen, man. Where to start? My heart,
Well,
man.
it
I
all
was
it all confirms that you're gonna get it now, right?
my heart. I feel like I'm cheating a little bit because after last week I was so excited to just keep talking about the EX30 and my future with Volvo. Now I'm like, yeah, we're gonna break up. We're breaking up before we get there. Um, Here's what I will do. I will hold all reservations about one or the other until action is implemented. Because even though I'm excited and I trust the transition to happen, I do not. Tesla has taught me one thing, and it's that it, it can break my heart. And I will no longer buy on a future promise ever again. Not with an EV, not with an iPhone, not with a nothing. You need to, I don't, I'm already an EV enthusiast and an early adopter. I don't need to prove myself to anyone, to myself, to my family and friends, to the listeners and you watching on YouTube. None of it. I am now just adding extra icing on the cake. But that also
Mm-hmm.
means I don't mind waiting anymore. I will, this is my game plan. Sell the Model 3. Yes, because the Model Y is the superior uh Tesla. It's the one I like. So
Damn
I will sell the
right.
Model 3. And yeah, sorry, Drew. We will not be a two a two EV3 Model 3 clan
You will
anymore.
not
But
be the bridge between Drew and me. You
no,
are specifically choosing a side now. And then
I
even
am.
more, going in the opposite direction with the most inefficient vehicle probably that you can buy on the market that's an EV. That's not the GMC, I believe. No. Yeah, probably the GMC. Yeah. Rivian's
Inefficient
probably
with the Rivian.
I think so, yeah, right? Or at least it's one of the heaviest trucks you can get next to a Hummer EV. I
Well,
guess the Lordstown ain't too good either.
yeah, but it's a truck. Like we have to suspend certain uh high standards when it comes to a truck, especially one as so desirable as the Rivian R1T. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I will wait. I will wait until I see what Rivian does. Ford and GM and everybody else for that matter too. Like I'm not, even though I have hard eyes for Rivians. Um, I I will not let my heart get broken again. I will wait until I see the product and then I will buy. And by then, a lot's going to happen in 2 years. You know, as you know, we've talked offline. Like I will not be living in this location, so I do have a hierarchy of relevance of what's important and where I'm allocating funds right now. But I'm also saving like a lot.
Mhm.
I stopped. Not this is really EV related, but I stopped investing in the market. I'm I've allocated all income sources that I get to go towards saving. I'm going to build a giant nest egg, and this will go towards the purchase of a home and a full outright payment of a EV, albeit it could be 70 something thousand like a Rivian, or it could be 35,000 like an EX30. We'll see. You decide, EV market, but the requirement still stands. When I said the line, this is where I draw my line. Like, it has to use the NACS. And I just feel so good, man. I just like, who's next? Like, all right, now it's like the poll that Drew puts up. You know, he's not on the show right now, but he's still very active with his channels and stuff like that. And I like seeing the poll. Like, who do you think is next? Who's the next one to fall in line? Who's the last one, or who's not gonna do it besides Lucid? But like, tell me your thoughts. Like, what now with this whole transition? Who do you think is next? Who do you think is last? Or not going to do it at all. And I want to hear your thoughts. I want to know what you think.
Well, thank you. I'm pretty excited that Rivian has joined the ranks. I put on my Twitter a nice little updated image of all the logos of the different companies surrounded by or surrounding the NACS port, and it's
Right.
becoming a little bit crowded now, which is very assuring and also a little bit worrying. I think I mentioned that last podcast. But in terms of like who's next, it's tough to say. Both was it Stellantis and Hyundai, Kia were uh, asked to comment on it if they're going to transition to the next port, and they said we're evaluating it. We'll let you know
Mm-hmm.
when we let you know and all that.
That
So
means yes.
I would hope so, because if I'm considering getting a Ram and it's like the one EV truck that doesn't have the NACS port,
Yeah.
I'm probably not gonna go for it. Because there's already what, 4 or 5 different options that are coming to market, and it's not gonna be one of them. It's like sorry, that have the NACS port. So
Right.
yeah. I would think who's probably up next, likely my own intuition is likely Hyundai Kia. Uh, some would say VW, but VW is in charge of Electrify America, and it would be
Mm-hmm.
very interesting to see VW say, "Yeah, we're going to," and then it's like, "Well, you own Electrify America, and a lot of people aren't happy with that. So are they going to transition too?
Yeah.
And if so, how reliable is your system, right?" Because I think this is something that I feel a lot of people might miss. I mean, it's great that we're trying to switch to a one port system here in the United States, and everyone's going towards what I agree with is the superior port. But the software to support that port is also just as important in this transition, right? So
Yeah.
to think everything will be hunky dory when all these uh, automotive companies transition isn't the case, because you have to get all of the charging companies, the charging system companies, to come over, and which a lot of them are, but you also have to make sure that your interface is good, right?
Mm-hmm.
We commented in the last episode that ChargePoint has a decent communication system for like with the wallet app and all that, with the little pass, or even just having the little ChargePoint card that you can order and all that, or just use your. I think you could just use your credit. I forget, but um, regardless, to say you got to nail down the software for your charging station, or just basically not even have it there, kind of like what Tesla has, where it's just asking for a handshake and then the screen does all of the interface. You don't have to interface with the screen on the podium. But I think that's the next step that we have to kind of focus on and hold these companies up to, or I guess hold them responsible for it, is make it a good transition physically, or at least
Mm-hmm.
like software wise, to show that yeah, we got the port and we offer it, but it doesn't mean anything unless the software backs it up and it's not a headache for it to have connectivity issues or anything else like that. So, uh, kind of, I'll let you comment on that in a few, but yeah, I would say the next company to probably, in my opinion, adopt the port is Hyundai Kia, and then maybe after that, um, maybe Stellantis, and
Mm,
then someone else. But Lucid already threw their hat in and said, or actually, they didn't even throw their hat in. They threw a a hot iron in or a hot coal in, saying we're not going to adopt it because it's not 1,000 volt or 800 volt architecture, so we're not doing it. So yeah, what do you think?
right. Uh, so you think the last one to adopt or not adopt at all would be Lucid then?
Probably in the end, yeah. They'd probably have to see the whole market transition to NACS, and then even so, they probably might not either because even Rivian's like, we're still gonna support CCS in a sense, right? With our Rivian Adventure Network, we're not gonna transition everything immediately, and makes sense. They can't. It's physically
But
impossible.
that's the key word, right? They won't do it immediately, but they will, you know.
How
I
long will
asked
that take, though?
Rivian, you know, as if like I was talking to him directly, but I asked of Rivian, do your network or whatever fine. Just also work with my baby's crying. He's getting in the bathroom right now.
Mm,
I but I also just work with Tesla, and they it's like they took that one clip, that one piece I said is like, all right. But I think the Adventure Network will like inevitably transition to that port because are you just gonna always ship with an adapter then? Like that doesn't seem efficient, clean. Just I'm sure you're not gonna be losing a lot of money, but it's a wasted expenditure.
mm-hmm,
Long term. We're talking long term. You actually care about the viability of your company succeeding. Rip the band-aid off, man. Just kill support. I'm putting my EV hat on. I'm not thinking like a tech enthusiast with Apple or whatever. I'm thinking like, think how quickly Tesla just changes their numbers for pricing or kills off a product or says no more radar or what they
mm-hmm,
do it so right there. And I'm basically saying all the non-Teslas fall in line, do the same thing. And I'm also saying it from a perspective of someone who's not been conditioned to be used to that. Um,
mm-hmm,
but look at the stock of look at the look at Tesla's stock and then look at your stock and see, tell me what, tell me where the discrepancy is, fall in line, copy, steal, make it your own, do what you got to do, whatever. But don't, don't delay it just for the sake of
mm-hmm.
delaying it. Um, I agree with you that I think, you know, Kia and all like that whole group will probably be next. But for the sake of just trying to put a different perspective here,
There's so
I'll
many different
say
companies to choose as well, right? I guess before you say it, you got companies like Mercedes, you got companies like Audi, you got Honda, you got Canoe, Faraday Future, DeLorean, Sony, for heck's sake, Sony. You got BMW, you got Porsche, which is I guess VW, but still, them, Polestar and Volvo. Like, there's so many different companies that we still have to consider that have EVs coming out that they've announced, and they haven't adopted the NACS port yet. But anyways,
I think Audi is VW, not Porsche.
Audi is VW, not Porsche. No, I believe
Hmm.
Porsche is owned by VW.
I don't think so.
You don't
Well,
think
maybe
so?
they are, but definitely Audi is also with VW because they use the same body. As a Jetta owner, I'm too comfortable in the knowledge of pretending to have an Audi when I had a Jetta.
Hmm.
So anyway, but to your point, I'm just
VW
making.
owns Audi, Bugatti, and Lambo.
I did not know they owned Lambo. I knew about
That
Bugatti,
was a
but
surprise to me. I did a quick Google search, and they're like, "Oh yeah." Volkswagen AG, which I guess is automotive group, uh, owns Audi, Bugatti, and Lamborghini, and I'm like, oh, I guess that makes sense. One tiny, maybe not tiny, but like one tangent
Sure.
that I wanted to highlight quickly is Ferrari is also thinking about getting in on the EV game as well. They're making a whole EV factory, and of course, it's going to be kind of like what's it called? The car that Richard Hammond crashed in Grand Tour, the Rimac Nevera. Rimac. Rimac is a supercar, hypercar, whatever you want to call it, EV company and all that. Uh, but like you don't see them sell that many cars per se, and they're super expensive cars. But uh, Ferrari's getting into the game. Like companies like this, do you think they would even ever consider getting the NACS port and stuff like that? It's tough to say.
Yeah. Um, I My gut instinct says that Lucid would be the last one to adopt or wouldn't adopt at all because of that little stink that they did. But I also think that they can't afford to hold their breath to be like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like, all right, you punish yourself. Like the whole industry is just moving forward. Like I maybe this is a very not cynical, but just a very like I don't know what the word is, but I've given up on Lucid completely. I don't care.
Mm,
They're not a real company in my mind.
wow.
They 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 one step below ticked me off. You know, I've given up on them.
Okay.
They they come off like this prestigious, luxury brand, high cost car that goes so many miles, but you have not earned that right. You're trying to be luxury for the sake of being luxury. But our quality and the build and like that, you haven't earned that. They just ship something, be profitable. Just show that you're like not hemorrhaging here, Like
Hmm.
I don't take them seriously. I thought about
Interesting.
this, I think 2 weeks ago or last week. After I finished the show with you, I was like, I like I'm one step below just straight up not liking them. I just, it's not that I don't like them. I just don't care about them. They're not a real company to me. They're not real. They're just, they're
Interesting.
better. They're better than Nikola, but they're not.
I don't know. Nikola currently is in California right now, showing off their hydrogen-powered semi truck, which
No, to me the damage is done with those guys. They're not
I
even. They're
guess
not.
so.
But like, at least like I hold. I have a better merit and hold better standing with like Aptera before Lucid. And I say that because I know I'm very much aware that a lot of people don't like Aptera, but I take
Hmm.
them significantly way more seriously than I would Lucid. They're not a real company to me. So,
Okay.
hold your breath, punish yourself. I guess I
I
don't.
find that
I,
interesting because I think was it in episode one. I looked back because I also had those same feelings. I've kind of come
yeah,
around to where like the anger and the annoyance has basically subsided. I'm just disappointed at the whole like dad thing of
sure,
I'm not angry,
yeah,
I'm not upset, I'm just disappointed and all that. I think I'm at that level now. But that took between
yeah,
episode 117 when I was kind of angry when we were talking about the Lucid Sapphire because they unleashed the Sapphire, I think, right before we
right,
did episode 117 of this podcast. And I think you guys were raving about it, but I was just like, this doesn't help anything. They're just announcing a higher tier that goes further and faster, maybe, but
yeah.
it's not helping much.
No, I think
And
Drew sided with you. It was me who was like, "This is exciting." Da da da. I still had a little glimmer, but now, I stopped trying. To me, they don't take themselves seriously. They try to act like they are
hmm,
an automobile company, and we got support and backing from so and so. I don't care. At the end of the day, like I don't care that a Lucid car was used in WWDC that Craig was showing. I indifferent. And I'm not mad because that it was a slight at Tesla because I just don't care. I, Tesla's downfalls or whatever are inconsequential from an emotional standpoint. As an investor, I genuinely don't care. I can't get hurt from that. But
Hmm.
Lucid is not a real company. They they
Okay.
are they are just spending money. What they did, like they are the crypto version. They are NFTs. They are a concept that were conceived during hype, and they are being expensive for the sake of
Hmm.
being expensive. They have
I
not earned that right.
I think I'm going to take a page out of the other podcasts that we just recorded, and I'm actually going to defend them. Surprisingly,
Let's
uh,
do it.
I feel like it is a bummer that they don't have their priorities in the boxes or bins that we'd hope that they have their priorities. But I'd say for the level of efficiency that they've achieved with their motors and batteries is something to be recognized. Heck, a lot of their components are used in Formula E and many other places. And I think they've got really good engineering. They're just not putting that engineering in the right places, or they're not putting that focus where they probably should be to be a profitable company and also gain a more mass market adoption for their products compared to others. To try to compare with or try to compete with Mercedes and Audi and Ferrari and Tesla, uh, it's a tough game. And also, like, at the end of the day, it's like, cool, it's a very expensive car. I can't afford it. Versus like something that Rivian's actively trying to achieve, and they're not trying to like shove in our faces per se, but they're like, we are working on a more affordable vehicle. And we're not ready to talk about it yet, but we're working on it and we think you're gonna love it.
Hmm.
Versus Lucid, who's like, here's a different trim of the same car that we make, and we've just stripped out a bunch of stuff, which I guess is one way of doing it. But uh, especially with their efficient components, but it's not the approach that will garner the most profit for them, because at the end of the day, they're still having to make that same chassis that's going to have its own efficiencies but also inefficiencies in both production and also normal operation. So I think they just need to learn from this experience of the market moving away from CCS and moving towards the Tesla plug being NACS, that they can't just operate by their own rules. They have to see the writing on the wall and sometimes conform to it. Because you can push all you want, but it's not going to help if it's a river that keeps on flowing in that direction and you're trying to paddle upstream the whole time. Because there's only so much power you could put into it until you run out of juice.
So since we're playing the game again, my response to that would be at least Rivian is sticking to a price point that's actually realistic to trucks that are not EVs. They didn't do anything that was that extraordinarily different, and they offered a unique product, a truck. Lucid literally has nothing unique about them except this is how far we can go. And we have leather, like leather is something new that haven't been in vehicles for decades, if it's a century now. Just this is them trying to act more prestigious than they have earned just for the sake of doing it. And they what good is all that engineering if you can't market the darn thing to people who are gonna buy. Who's your audience? You're trying to be like, so what? You're trying to be like Ferrari, and I don't, and I scoff at Ferrari for trying to. If this is true, and they're thinking about entering the EV. Don't. That's not like wait until the only reason why Ferrari wants to enter the EV space is because of the next gen roadster that would come out. Like that they would want to get in line with that. But Ferrari is not a real like, hey, come buy from like you have to go through a whole process just to what to be a membership and
Mm-hmm.
get the offer to be, oh, how lucky are you to get the invite, we will allow you to come back. No, take your car and shove it. I don't care. No, I don't need to earn your nothing. Like my dollar will go somewhere else that's more effective with at least marketing. And Lucid is trying to appeal to a higher end clientele. Was like, well, if you can't afford it, then the car's not meant for you. So you're trying to get people, geriatric people who don't know the difference between these vehicles and are willing to spend all this money because they think it's great or whatever. And then it's like the car by itself as a standalone is not a bad car. I like the Lucid car. I saw one in person. I was like, that's pretty cool. But the company, I refuse to acknowledge them as such, sucks. The whole thing sucks. It sucks so bad that you can't even get CarPlay right. And CarPlay, Apple did the legwork for you, and they effed that up. It's just, it's so, maybe that's why, maybe I'm mad at the CarPlay feature. Who knows? But Lucid has not done anything worthwhile to say that, oh, okay, yeah, I'll take you seriously yet, because they act like they have this bottom. They're acting like they're Tesla, like they're the first to market. We'll start with the most expensive and make it cheaper, cheaper, cheaper. That worked in 2012. That does not work
Hmm.
now. You are not first. You don't have first mover advantage. You don't get to play those games. That was the same stance I was talking about Rivian with the CCS one. It's like you don't get to just like, oh well, we're gonna stick with this one and act like you'll be okay. Anybody who does not adopt NACS, just going back to NACS real quick, I'm
Hmm.
convinced in North America, any of these companies that aren't fully operational or that make it like not early adopters, any company that does not adopt NACS will die. But
Hmm.
now going back to who I actually thought, I would have said Lucid will be the one who holds their breath and not adopt. But to counter my stance from what you said earlier, I don't know who will be the next one to fall in line to adopt NACS, but I think the last one, if ever, will be Volkswagen. I think
Hmm.
they I think they force themselves to let that be the hill that they die on. I think Volkswagen is big enough that they can wait it out. They are an international brand. They don't need quote unquote just North America alone. You know, they VW is its own thing. It is its own entity, and the fact that they the fact that they're like so side by side, one for one with Electrify America is just sad. But maybe they don't care because it's like that's not their main source or their only source of the money. Like I'd said this before. I don't know which episode. I probably say it in every episode. But if they actually had something to lose, they would start acting like it. Volkswagen has nothing to lose by not adopting NACS. And they might want to be the lightning cable to the USB-C, battle. That that would have been, but even then, it looks like Lightning lost. Well, allegedly, we don't know if it actually happens until a couple months from now. But um, I think
That's a
Volkswagen
couple
will be the
years away.
last
Yep.
one.
Okay.
Volkswagen will be the last one to adopt, and um, if they're not the last ones to adopt, then if they adopt next, like not next, if they're the next one to adopt, I think that is the official domino that starts everyone else to just do it right. Like
It
my
kind of
takeaways, and
forces their
then
hand, right? It means
right,
probably
it
that they
forces,
intend
yeah,
to force Electrify America to switch to NACS, in
yeah,
which then everyone's like, all
everybody
right,
else,
well maybe per se, but it could go the same way as we're going to offer both NACS and CCS at the same plug. So then people or some of these companies might pass off as, then we can still use CCS1 and we're fine. So you don't know if it's the official domino to knock down everyone because you never know. And also, you might
hmm,
have a startup come in that might just reinvent the wheel again, per se, or try to reinvent the wheel, and maybe they can convince others. We don't know. Very unlikely at this point. But
yeah. Ooh,
while you were
oh,
talking about
go ahead.
that and comparing the two companies, I compared their two starting prices. So for the Lucid Air Pure versus the dual motor standard range battery pack R1T, there's a $14,400 difference in favor of the Rivian, uh, where you can get the Rivian R1T cheaper than the Lucid Air Pure, which is kind of telling. Though I guess it's 200-mile difference. I think 410 versus uh 300 or no 270 or something like that. So per specs, there is differences, and also just by vehicles, but by price, to get a pickup truck for that price that could do many things. Though I guess who's buying a pickup or who's trying to compare a pickup truck versus a sedan or luxury sedan at that,
Yeah, but
right?
to your note, true, but to your note, in any other conceivable conversation we would have had about this at any other year, the truck would be more expensive than the sedan. Now I know
Maybe
we're talking about a luxury
EVs
sedan,
as well.
but no, let's pretend they're gas vehicles. Let's pretend we're in the early 2000s or late 90s. Like if this was the exact same conversation that we'd be having, trucks have always been more expensive for. I mean, if not at the price, you're definitely more expensive at the pump. Like that is just
I would disagree, honestly, because if we were making this same case, but for gas vehicles back in like early 2000s or ever, they were basically comparing like a Chevy to a Mercedes or an Audi, and they can price
you.
it up pretty well.
That's why we disagree because I do not align Lucid to. They have not earned that brand. They haven't earned that price tag. That maybe that's what it is.
Okay.
I compare Lucid here. I guess that's what it is. Is if we're talking about a Mercedes, then we're having a different conversation. But I Mercedes Mercedes doesn't need North America for one. But uh, I do not align Lucid to an Audi or a Mercedes. I would align them to that of a Lincoln.
Wow. Really dissing Lincoln today.
No, I like Lincoln. My grandma had a Lincoln. I think Ford owns Lincoln.
Ford owns
All
Lincoln.
right. Yeah. I got nothing negative to say. I'm the
They
point is that
adopted
like
NACS technically by
there
association.
you go. See? That like Lucid is will be will be dead well before the end of the decade if they don't uh if they stop huffing and puffing. Listen, Rivian did the unthinkable in my mind, which means I feel like we kind of hold some weight here. Lucid, if
Okay.
I can give you some advice, take the offer that Apple is giving you. Just let them own you. Walk away. Just walk away. If you're not going to do that, drop your freaking price. Stop gloating about, well, it needs to have the longest. The most important thing is charging efficiency. I can't believe I would have this conversation with a senior executive member
Well,
of
the
that
thing is, he
company.
did make
Like
that point, though, right? If they try adopting NACS with their current, uh, basically what the makeup of their charging, what am I trying to say? Sorry. Basically, if they just put an NACS port into their vehicle, they would get very slow speeds. They would have to change the whole makeup of their car's electrical system so
they're
that
not
way it's
selling that
tuned
much
for NACS.
anyway, so
I
they're
guess
not losing
so.
nothing.
And all the other companies are saying, I
This is the
guess it is
best
worth it
time
to
to do it,
retune.
right? Like, don't wait until more momentum picks up and you start getting more clientele just to inevitably do it anyway. If you need to change your
Hmm.
infrastructure, change your freaking infrastructure. Do it now. Rip off this, rip off the band-aid. You will never have, well, you would hope to be a healthy company. You would never have less customers than you do now at this stage in the game. If you have less customers 5 years from now, you effed up bad, bad. If you want to be this, it's so hard. It's so hard to give them credibility because like what do they offer to the space that isn't already taken by Tesla or going to be overpowered by someone who has way more money than them, like a Ford or GM? They offer nothing. But okay, say that okay,
Efficient
they
components,
I would say that
very
do
long
what Rivian
range.
did. Do
Some
what
people
Rivian
value
did.
that range more.
I know my wife. and your wife, I think, would be in that camp if it was more affordable, and I get
And if it was
that.
a truck.
Do what Rivian, yeah, do what Rivian did and start poaching these people and have them come work for you. Then, if you care that much about range, there's nothing proprietary by output. You're gonna go from here to here, but you can go longer. Okay, cool. Come work for me. You know, I get that. That's maybe I'm thinking too much like a vicious businessman. I don't know, but either way, Rivian, adopt the port, change your infrastructure, do what you gotta do. And if that means, well, our old customers, they're still capped at this rate. Well, like, oh, well, that's the deal you make when you're an early adopter. Everybody assumes these, the responsibility of that, the liability that comes with something that might be dated very soon. I mean, on a smaller scale, I got USB A in my car. I feel so fake with my cheap charging port. It's not even wireless. But
Oh,
I I assume
you
I
poor
assume that
soul. So
I
that's why
know.
you're getting rid of it.
Am I? Maybe that's why I'm getting rid. Now it.
It's got inefficient plugs.
Randy's replacing his 2019 dream car for his 2025 dream vehicle. He still gets his
Ah,
dream
so
vehicle.
that's the new date now, because originally I think I don't even know. I wrote down a sticky note, if you remember me being in
I said that was dead when I got the Y. That sticky note didn't count anymore.
yeah, okay. So it's been killed but now revived, all because the 3 doesn't
It's
suit the needs
L.
anymore and
All
Rivian
bets
adopted
are
NACS.
off the moment they adopted NACS. All bets are off. I was willing to entertain this universe that Drew paints it, where he's like, "That's okay. Just charge at home. You don't have to worry about it. Don't go charge out in town, unreliably. Just charge at home." I was like, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
And they're building out the
All
adventure
bets,
network.
and I would be living theoretically in a state that would support it heavily. So, you
So
know,
here's a really cool thing, right? Is something that maybe is going a little bit under the radar. Rivian's still doubling down on their adventure network. They didn't say we're
yeah,
adopting NACS and we're stopping the whole adventure network. They're doubling down. They're saying it's going to be incorporated on the adventure network, which means not only in the future, because they've said that they'll open up the adventure network to non-Rivians later, not only will you be able to charge whatever car, whether you have a Tesla, Rivian, or anything else, in the city,
yeah,
you'll be able to take it off road in the Rockies or in the
bro.
middle of California, in the Pacific Northwest, anywhere else,
National
out in the
parks
middle
that
of,
are notorious for not having gas stations or signal, you will be connected and just fine.
right. Ain't that exciting, right? You'll be
It
able
really
to
is.
get really fast speeds in whatever car you want, whether you're in the middle of LA or
Yep.
out in the boonies on a top of a mountain or in the middle of a desert. There will be a charger waiting for you.
My
And
national park here is the Appalachian Mountains, and
mhm,
so well that's the mountain thing, but the park is Shenandoah National Park, and then I think you got the Smokies is another national park, so they both
mhm,
share the Appalachian Mountains. Um, And I can tell you from personal experience, the only times I ever got real range anxiety was when I went to the mountains with my Model 3. And I'm like, God, I just wish I had a charger here. And the fact that I couldn't, like, it was stressing me out. And like the parks are long, they're huge. And if I could have the ability to have an adventure network for when I inevitably go camping with my family, because I'm that guy, and also have the ability to hit up a supercharger just on the way back when I'm back in town or I'm back on a interstate freeway or something. Dude, I maybe I've never thought about this. Like I never formed it out loud as a thought, but I knew what I was feeling. Maybe that's why I want to invest in Rivian, because they're the only other company that, like, they're committed to their network the way Tesla was committed. I bought into Tesla so heavily and I spent thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars of stock, because I believed in the network, not the car. I knew there was quality control issues with the Model 3. Everybody knew. That's all they would talk about. They're doomed to fail because of quality control. Blah 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 blah. QA is crap. That's not what my eyes was on the network. I was like, that's going to be the thing. And now that that gear is turning, man. It's like Rivian is they want it that bad. Like they really, I believe them that they want it that bad. Do I believe them enough to want to invest? I don't know, but I believe them. I believe them enough that I want to buy from them. And I can see a world where it's just the Adventure Network and superchargers, and that's all you need to fly through any part of North America. You want to go
Hmm.
up to the mountains in any part of the country, or you want to go down to the desert or go down to Mexico. It all just seamlessly works perfectly. And that network that they're committed to is the only reason why I think I want to buy from them so bad. Because
Sure.
I believe them, you know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think this fits hand in hand as well with a developing story that we got right before we started up the podcast is that Rivian acquired a better route planner, in which
Hmm.
Drew has said many times in the past on the podcast that he uses it a lot. I've used it
Mm-hmm.
a handful of times, but what ends up happening is I look at it on the better route planner, I'm like, okay, cool, and then I go into the Tesla, and the Tesla has a different route, but it's because it's looking at its own route based off of superchargers, and it just deviates from the better route planner. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm gonna follow the Tesla's one because I can't just put my phone. I don't have a map for my phone. I'm not going to. I'm gonna believe the Tesla because the Tesla knows where to go, per se.
Right.
Usually, usually it does a pretty decent job, except for a couple times where it routed us on one road for some random reason. It didn't make sense versus taking the freeway. But I digress. Rivian is only showing that they care that much more about the transition to EVs and sustainable transportation with acquiring a better route planner because it shows that in this acquisition, they
Mm-hmm.
reassured that they're not going to hold it to themselves as their own little thing, kind of like how Apple did with Dark Sky, where like
Right.
you're
Yeah.
not able to use that app anymore and you get a very limited version already in the weather app on your iPhone that you have to have, I think, basically, to use
Mm-hmm.
a shell of what Dark Sky used to be and all that. Where
Mm-hmm.
Rivian, on the other hand, is like, and also a Better Route Planner put this out on their own blog post as well, is that a Better Route Planner is still going to stay the way that it is. It's still going to be an app that you can download on Android, on Apple, or whatever, and you can do whatever with it. But Rivian has acquired it to help make it better and maybe have like their own version of it. Probably that's what they're thinking internally is revamp their maps so that way it's that much better with a better route planner. But they're going to help make this experience a whole lot better for everyone else as well because they're going to put money into it, in which I really want to know. they're really they're it, you mentioned before that Lucid's basically operating with money that they don't have. They're taking it from the Saudis and then basically throwing it into a furnace per se. And
Mm-hmm.
it's not entirely the same with Rivian, but also it seems kind of funny that we're not criticizing for the fact that they're using money that they technically don't have or like they probably shouldn't be spending, but I guess it is an investment at the end of the day, so it makes sense. But long story short, they're also dumping money into it something else that will hopefully make their product better, which I think is a really smart move from them, especially if they don't want to go third party. They
Right.
actively have pushed against CarPlay and Android Auto, and they're like, we're gonna make our own thing. But then also they're like, we're also gonna buy Better App Planner, and we're gonna make our own software that much better with this integration, and all that, which I think is great for those that want to buy a Rivian or are owning a Rivian. This is gonna be a really great update for your maps because it's basically meant for finding chargers wherever you go,
Yeah.
and it can search for anything because they have a nice database. So, and they also have good data from drivers of EVs that have linked their Tesla accounts or any other accounts. But
Yeah.
it's just that
I
much better, right?
yeah. I say that an acquisition is different than a partnership. Like what that told me is Rivian wants complete control under their own what what their name is affiliated to. They want complete control. I
Mm-hmm.
think the partnership with Amazon was one of like, we'll make an investment with you guys, and in turn we use your product. And so that was a little more of a symbiotic thing going on right there.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas this network thing, man, like that, maybe I'm so optimistic about it because it's in service of other things outside of Rivian. That's the only way, like, that's the only way I felt like long term any of this could be successful is you have to better, what are you offering that goes outside of your own personal interest as a company? Every company obviously has, especially a public company, has a financial responsibility for their shareholders and to make money. Like that, obviously, economy 101, but like to actually have like a social impact, to have relevance, to have, like, what are you doing that betters your surrounding or your field of whatever you're in? And sorry, I got the notification. My phone is at 20%. I did this whole wireless thing, and uh,
Wow.
I never saw that notification before, so that's okay.
Yeah.
I got lightning right here. But
That's what I
so
do when I record. But yeah.
yeah, so like Rivian is going to do something. It is an investment because it's something that services outside of just their own network. Because anybody would be foolish to think that they could be successful just on their own. Anybody who tries to pretend like their Tesla will fail, because even Tesla is not going to do what Tesla was doing. This is our thing. No, I'm going to give it to you for free, but you have to pay to use my. You have to pay me. I think like there's a membership too. Evidently, I was today or yesterday years old when I found out there's like a $10 a month fee or what. Like, so it's going to cost money. They're not doing all the kind of stuff. They are a for profit company, but the fact that like here's our thing. It's you don't have to pay a royalty to use our. Here's the thing, but if you want to use our network, then we'll charge you. Um, buy own the own the source, not the product. I guess. Like I feel like um Rivian with their network, Tesla with supercharging. I mean, you can make a case for cell phone carriers too. Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile with their towers. Own the source, the network, and then let other people jump in on them, and you'll be that much more, profitable. And I'm not talking from a business sense of like investing. I'm saying that like that shows viability in the company. Thus, that makes me build trust that the product that they make is not going to go the way of Nikola or, as I suspect, Lucid or something. It's hard for me to buy something or believe in something. Canoe, it's hard for me to buy something, but believe in something that has nothing. It's a very competitive field, man. And I guess the overarching theme I'm trying to push here is that one, everyone should just get on NACS. Just do it. All, even Volkswagen. And I think Volkswagen would be the only company that would be just fine without it. But they should still do it. Just if anything else, for brand loyalty and people trusting them, because like their stuff sucks, man. Like it is, we'll call a spade a spade, but everyone should do it. And two, um, get better at marketing. Why should anyone care about your product? Rivian has given me many reasons to care about their product. Lucid gave me
Mm-hmm.
maybe two or three, and then I gave up. But Aptera, credit where credit is due. They led the campaign about getting like this should be the standard. Like this time last year, they were saying that. So all to me, all shout outs and nothing but love from me to Aptera. And I say that because I'll never be a customer. I don't see myself being a customer, but I will be a fan, and I will, you know, kudos where kudos are due.
Right. No, I agree. Uh, I am a lot more excited about Aptera's future than I am for Lucid's. and Rivian has definitely shown that they care and they really want to, especially with uh, I don't know if we discussed this or maybe you're gone or something else, but even Rivian, they announced like the whole tank turn feature on their truck, and then they walked it back. And RJ basically said, I think in an Instagram story post, he's like, I don't think we're gonna do it just because we saw how much damage it does, and we don't
Mm,
want to do that to the environment. We want to keep trails and other things as close to how we left them, and for those to like go out and do tank turn in these beautiful places was is a disservice to the environment. So we're just not going to. And that's
respect.
something I definitely yeah, exactly. It's like, hey, like you said, give flowers where flowers are due. And even though it was a cool feature, you don't really see, for instance, Hummer EVs doing the crab walk everywhere they go, and you don't see Teslas doing the light show dance all the time.
Mm.
It's the little gimmick that like you show to your friends that one time, and they're like, "Oh, that's cool," and then you'd probably never use it again for like
Fart
another
mode
year.
and open butthole are my two. Like, hey, look at this funny little thing that they do, and then that's
Hmm.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I usually turn on the fart mode when my wife has friends in the car or we have family in the car. Then I'm just like, all right, time to troll the family and do this. But exactly. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so I guess moving on from that, I don't know if this will affect because you're thinking about selling your Model 3. It seems like Tesla's prices are like at an all-time low for at least the S and X in their current
Yeah.
form with
Yeah.
their refresh. And then the Y also getting pretty low as well. It's something that I think I was talking to my father-in-law about, or maybe it was my mother. One of these parental figures in my life. They're mentioning like, wasn't that like an expensive car? I'm like, it was decently expensive when I got it, but that was the price of like being an early adopter, and then it did go up. Or no, it went down, and then it went up like crazy, and it's kind of been sine waving itself back down. Maybe I was talking
Hmm.
to you. Anyways, it's kind of been sine waving itself back down. Now we're at a level where it's like you can get a Model Y for like $40,000 now. It's like
I'm your
pretty good
parental
value.
because we did talk about this. It's me. I'm the parental you're forgetting.
Ah, okay. That makes
Yeah.
sense, Dad. I'm sorry. Also, happy post Father's Day, Dad.
Thank you, son. But
But
anyway.
do these prices turn anything on inside your brain or like make you think, hmm, maybe if I wait long enough, we might see the same thing with like the Cybertruck eventually on like an end of quarter push. Or if you're interested in a Model S or X or something like that, the current day ones, or maybe ones that are on existing inventory for a really good price.
I'm always interested at all times. Um, I've been sucking up to Rivian for how long? How many episodes back to back now? All right, but let's not forget our roots here. And I'm the biggest Tesla sheep, Tesla fanboy that there is. I put my money where
Mm-hmm.
my mouth is, and I say what I mean and I mean what I say. And there is no replacing Tesla. Everything else is just a complementary device, car, whatever, to the Tesla infrastructure, my own network, my ecosystem that I have. There is no killing the Tesla for me. Like I want to sell the three because it's just too similar to the Y, and the Y is the family car.
Mm-hmm.
I'm selling a Tesla because the most it's the least selfish thing I could do to sacrifice the thing that I you know worked so hard for and I've had for four. I hit my 4 year mark uh this week actually owning the car. You know,
Wow.
yeah, you're right there.
Just hit my elbow.
Yeah. I've owned the car
Wow.
effectively now for over 4 years, and it doesn't feel like it's been 4 years because I've loved every moment of that car. And so I don't want to like give off the impression that I'm excited to get rid of the three. I'm not. Um,
Hmm.
I'm just not trying to be too. If I sit too long in my sentiments here and I get too sentimental, I will back out. And logically, it makes sense to get the R1T above anything else, even the EX30, because I think about my family now. Like I can't help it. Even if I wanted to, even if I was allowed to be selfish, I can't. I think about all the things I want to do with my family that involves a truck, that
Well, just
involves.
space in general, right? You're gonna need space for all the toddler stuff, or I guess all the
Oh
baby stuff,
man,
then all the
the
toddler
things I
stuff,
want
and
to
then
tell
think
you
about if
offline
they get into
that
sports and everything else, it's gonna
yeah, you just
become
the
so
stuff I
much
want to
stuff they have
share
to
with
carry around.
you. Yeah, the stuff I want to share with you has not that I can't say on record. Like I have plans that involve a truck, and I
Randy plans on catapulting his kid with his truck somehow, apparently, but we won't talk about that on air.
he is little Superman, just flying through the air. Um, but like I don't want to get rid of the three. It's not a want. It's just I don't make that much money. I don't have that much reserved. I it's the financial logical thing to do. One of them has to go, and I if it was my decision, I would keep the three. But it's obviously not my decision, and there was forethought that went into get why we needed the Y. If I sold the Y, it pseudo fixes the issue if I replace it with the truck, but in between all that and this and the other, it's like it's too many moving elements, and I can't compromise losing the cargo space that I need. The one that's working right now with the Y, and then what I will inevitably need for the bed of the truck. And I bought the three when I was single and not a father. Like things change, and I don't want to lose that part of me because it represents my achievements of doing something. That was my first big boy purchase. I effectively bought that before I bought my house in San Diego, even like officially. So that was my first big boy purchase. Like it felt good. You don't forget that feeling. And
Hmm.
but like this is where the tech part of EV kind of comes in, and it's like sometimes you got quick moving parts and you got to adapt. And it I've made peace with the sacrifice that I would make with the Model 3, because when I lose the Model 3, when I sell it, I will eventually lose my GPS whatever navigating system that comes with the Y, because that was bought after the announcement for the 10-year thing. So that will never go
Hmm.
away, and that will become a cost. I lose my I lose my sensors that I think I've been turned off anyway, but still somehow work way better in parking than the Model Y does. I lose my
Hmm.
FSD. As much as I hate it, I still like at the bare minimum. I just like the auto lane change it does for me when I'm on the interstate. I love that, and that's all I
Right.
love. um,
Mine drove me up to SF and back without any issues. I'm like,
sure,
this is
yeah,
great.
it
I
is
love
great. Where
this.
where it shines is where not much advancement has happened, but like what I needed to do, I love, right? And so yeah, the adaptive cruise control and the autopilot thing that comes with the Y is cool, but like you know, anyway, I and then if I get full on like just subjective about it, my wrap, I freaking love that wrap. I put
Hmm.
6 grand into that wrap. I don't want to lose that. Like I love my car. I babied the heck out of it. I still do. Like it is in perfect condition. It is pristine in every sense. I don't want to lose that. But
Right.
but like I I'm big enough to not be stubborn about it. But with all that, to go back to what you were saying, my eye has always been and will always be on Tesla first. Like I'm loyal to Tesla. And if there's a good deal that comes with an X or an S, yeah. I mean, how cool would it be if the Model 3 does get ventilated seats? That's dope. I would hop on that. That's not a $30,000, commitment I'm willing to make for ventilated seats. But with the Model S, which does not have ventilated seats, the Model S, I mean, you're talking about a large sedan, an actual luxury sedan, Lucid, and you have. I like the minimalism of one display, but it'd be cool to have like a display right there as I'm driving. Maybe I have the yoke. Who knows? Um, you just the Model S is sexy, dude. Like that. Objectively, the shape, the body, the everything. Man, Model S is beautiful. But I don't even try to pretend like I'm gonna get that car because that's out of my price range. I don't. That's out of my tax
Sure.
bracket, you know.
It does
But
everything
I
the Y does in terms of features with the hatch and the
yep,
panoramic roof and all that, but in a lower profile and
yeah,
also a higher cost.
yeah. Um, but I mean the S, people who see the S, like I think now have even non EV enthusiasts or Tesla owners, anyone who sees an S knows that's people used to see the 3 and be like, dang dude, you making money with this. Like it's a Model 3. It's actually not that much. It's like I paid maybe like 51 after taxes and like you could buy way more expensive vehicles that are actual large
Hmm.
sedans. It's not that serious. But now people are like, oh, it's Model 3. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. That's a but nice wrap. I like your wrap. That's a dope wrap. Thank you. But everybody sees an S and they're like, there's no pulling like, oh, he must have spent like, 30,000. Nah, man. That
Right.
is sexy. That is the sexy lineup. Just the S.
Yep. The S and sexy.
Would
Yeah.
you would you do if prices go right and everything looks like it is, would you entertain that?
It would have to. So I was looking at existing inventory just for fun, and what caught my
As one
eye
does.
was there was one that, of course, like the cheapest one in my area that's available right now is a midnight silver metallic long range Model X, because that's what I'd be interested in, not really the S. But midnight silver metallic long range Model X. I forget if it had the yoke or not. Probably not. If it was like the least costliest one, because it basically just didn't have any options. Um, but the one that caught my eye was the ultra red with
Cool. Ooh.
it still had the regular circular steering wheel, but I would have been fine with the yoke with it. Uh, and I think, yeah, it was also a long range and all that. It was like, ooh, this isn't too bad, and it was like marked down a decent amount. I think it was around like $7,000 marked down or whatever. I'm like, yeah, and it wasn't a demo car either. So I was thinking, huh,
Nice.
not really used that much and pretty good. Yeah, so I'd probably go for that, but the price would have to come down severely to probably assume.
50.
So again, the whole that'd be nice. The whole scenario is basically.
Oh, I went too low. I went too low. Sorry.
Yeah,
Let me climb a
yeah.
little.
Sorry, go higher, man. I got more bills to throw at this, but joking. Um, the scenario, like I've pitched
Mm,
before, is like someone destroyed my Y. It's not. This won't be an addition. This would have to be a replacement.
I see.
And it
Yeah.
wouldn't be a
Yeah.
replacement out of like I'll trade it out. It's quite literally the Y is totaled. I got money back from it because I was not at fault, and I need to buy a car this week. So it's like, all right,
You
well, existing inventory, appealing looking car. It'd have to be around the price that I paid for my Y or a little bit more, or just a tad bit more, enough to where I'm like, okay, it's justified. Uh,
yeah.
so probably around. I think I've shared this, if not around like the $60,000 range or something like that.
Mm, yeah.
Um, because that's basically what the Y was after taxes and everything else. So,
Yeah.
which is kind of surprising thinking about it now. But anyways, yeah, somewhere around there. Um, it'd be nice. It'd be fun. but it's not, again, the top priority. Not even like any EV is the top priority right now. We got two good working cars, or I guess
Yeah.
car and truck.
You have
They
what you
have,
need to make your lifestyles work for
yeah,
what's around your guys's you know, adventures and stuff, especially this year and next year and stuff.
right.
Um
The only
you
focus is just reducing the cost of ownership,
sure.
which is
Yeah.
why stuff like the Ram and Cybertruck are that more appealing because it might pay off in the end.
Yeah. Non EV tangent here. Not tangent, just side note. Former Geico claims employee here.
Oh, you know
Um
the Gecko?
I d- I do. He's not Australian, by the way. Uh
Oh, he puts it on
Warren
for the
Buffett
bit.
Warren Buffett owns Geico, you know.
Hmm.
I I met him not one on one, but he walked past me when he came to do a conference and everyone lost their freaking minds. Anyway, just so you know, Mike, because you had mentioned that fake scenario. If the Model Y was totaled, regardless if you're at fault for not, that is you if you have the coverage, you're insured. The only thing that if you were at fault, especially in the state of California, and I was only licensed for the state of California to know this, um, if you were insured, uh, the only thing that gets affected if you're at fault, if you're 51%, you have to be above 50%. That's it. So if you are 51% liable for the accident, the only thing that gets affected is your premium. Your next
Hmm.
rate for that premium when you renew will go up. That's it. If you're at 50% liable, if it's half and half, two people are backing out in a parking lot and fender bender, that's a 50-50. That's a pretty easy you can assess liability pretty easily that way. Nobody's premiums get affected at that point. And if you're not at fault, obviously your premium does not get affected. But if you have the proper coverage, it does not matter if you're at fault or not. If something happens to your car and you're insured, buddy, you getting a new check. You're getting a check with a new car. So just so you know. So I know that a lot of
Okay.
people there's that misconception with claims when they're like, I don't want to use my insurance. No, you're paying for it. That's your insurance. Use your insurance. That is something I I was also you don't know what you don't know. So I was very ignorant to it as well before working for Geico. That I was like, oh, if I touch my insurance, I'm my insurance is gonna go up. No, if on your insurance policy, any not outside of Geico, any insurance policy, if you have a rental uh option on there for you get a rental for it, you can use your insurance to get a rental car just for the heck of it. Like, oh, you know what? I'm out in town and I can't just go through enterprise or whatever. I'm going to use my insurance to get a rent. You can't. Your policy does not get affected. The only time your policy gets infected is if you are above 50% liable in an accident, in a collision of some caliber, or if you hit a house. Like if you do something that you are liable for, at least 51%, that is the only time your insurance goes
No,
up. So,
officer. The house hit me. So,
right. Well, they have a thing. There's a clause for everything. There's one that's called an act of God, and your car's parked, and a tree trunk falls on it. Act of God.
mhm.
That's
The
what.
house
That's one that
hits
gets
your car due to wind or whatever, or
due to
loose
a
foundation
tornado.
or something like that.
You live in
Yeah.
Kansas, and your barn gets picked up and it smacks into your car. Act of God. There you go. You're getting a new
I'd be
car, and
surprised
then
if anyone is insuring cars in Kansas at this point because you get people who own homes here in California and they're getting dropped by insurance companies left and right because California catches on fire every year. So
yeah.
doesn't make
Oh
sense
yeah.
to insure these homes anymore. You're like, isn't that
And now
what insurance
Florida,
is for?
Florida is another state that's affected for any water damages now with their homes with flooding. Is
They're
new.
probably
Hey,
joining the bandwagon of we're not insuring any more
yeah,
houses.
yeah. That it's such a crock of. Anyway, we're completely going on a tangent here, but I just want you to know that anything happens to your Y, if you have full coverage. I guess more of that whole statement is that anybody who you don't even have to have an EV. Anybody who is driving legally and you have insurance, don't just have liability. Have full coverage. I don't want to pay that much. Trust me, when I literally say that, you literally cannot afford not to have full coverage. Have full coverage, please. Protect yourself because I was I was rear-ended in the Model 3 and in my Jetta before that. I
Hmm.
have been in more collisions than I can happily say that I want to be. And each one, I was not at fault for it. And in each time, there was a coverage issue, what they call, where they don't have enough money to fix my damages. But because I'm fully insured, my insurance took care of it, and then their lawyers deal with it on their end, and then they go after the other person's insurance company, and the lawyers go to arbitration or they go to court. That's so far away from the driver, it does not matter. So
Mm-hmm.
always have full coverage. More of the story. All right, back to EV talk. Um,
No, it's good knowledge though, especially if you get your Rivian and then, like many people who have gotten their Rivian, first week of owning it, some schmo runs into you and totals it or basically puts it in the ICU for a month.
yeah, yeah. I I will. Here's my closing thought here. I'll keep it brief and share your closing thoughts, whatever you have. But
Sure.
after everything has been said and done this week with Rivian, um, I'm still not. It's still not a no about Volvo for me. Um, I will. Everything remains the same. What I just I need to see. I need to see specs. I need to see hands-on videos. I need
You
to
need to
see
see
them
the
in
next
person.
port.
I need to see the next port, and I need
Give
to
me
see
the
next
next
gen
port.
CarPlay. Show me next gen CarPlay while we're at it too. You know,
Right.
I will not buy a Rivian. Unlike the Model 3, which technically I cheated by renting a few, but unlike the Model 3, I will not buy a
Mm-hmm.
Rivian, nor a Volvo, nor another EV without first testing the vehicle. Um, when I had
Smart.
made up my mind about the Model 3, I just didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
I'm buying this car. We just so happened to have rented it a couple times, different other people's cars, and I was like, oh, this solidifies what I already felt. But I didn't ever do the test drive like they offer. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but besides
I
driving a
definitely
car to see
recommend
how,
test driving a Rivian. It's from a person who's owned a truck and a EVY, I guess EV
yeah,
crossover. It's very much in that realm between the two of like I'm one and the other, but I feel totally different as a vehicle in ride height and in acceleration.
yeah,
But you can't treat me exactly like the other beast either.
right. Um, yeah. So my closing thought is, I'm not saying no to the EX30. Or for that case, really any car between now and my next purchase. I'm not so close-minded that I won't listen to what the field, the industry is doing. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but now Rivian's the one to beat. So what I need every other manufacturer to effectively do for me is prove to me, convince me, change my mind. You know, you sell me
Mm-hmm.
on your product over the Rivian, not over the model, whatever, not Tesla. You can't compete with Tesla. I will not be a non-Tesla household, probably ever. There'll always be at least one. But it's now on Volvo or whoever, Polestar, whatever. It's on them to sell me on their car because now I am actively shopping around. I'm saving up the money. I got the cash reserve that's already kind of like allocated for that. And it's just a matter of between now and when I have enough money to either buy a Rivian truck and ideally, you know, with the NACS port. But all the same, I'm not going to not listen to the rest of the industry. So I will still come on to the podcast every week with open eyes and ears and, hey, see what's going on here. And man, even Lucid could probably win me over if they ever wanted to become a real company. You know, I will be open minded. But
Mm-hmm.
Rivian's this is the staple. That's the one that they people have to sell me on. So I welcome the
Sure.
challenge from the manufacturers.
Right. Yeah. I guess I got two last things. First one is I do wonder where BMW fits in this whole domino lineup for adopting NACS because they very much have kind of been they're kind of the kid on the playground that saw Tesla and they're like, "Oh no, you don't! I own this playground." And then Tesla basically slaps them and then keeps on walking as if like they weren't there. And then they're like,
Go home, boomer.
what do I do? They're like, who am I? What is my identity? And I really hope they do show something or do something to be a little bit more be a little bit more showy or a little bit more BMW in the EV
Sure.
space instead of
Yeah.
kind of just subservient per se. I want to see more competition with them. But um yeah, I guess the last thing I wanted to say is I'm babysitting Drew's car. I think I mentioned that last week or the week before. I'm babysitting Pearl. And after cleaning Pearl, because Pearl has been getting some dust and uh, other stuff, other outdoor stuff on it, because sometimes I put the Y into park and then I take the Y out and put Pearl into charge and all that. Um, I don't want to clean cars anymore.
Okay.
Regardless of the fact if it's in a garage or not. I'm tired of cleaning cars and I'm just that much more interested. It's nothing to knock against Pearl or anything else like that, but like after
Oh, no,
cleaning the
I hear
sides
you.
of painted vehicles and all that, I'm really interested in how easy to clean and maintain the Cybertruck is with a stainless steel exterior. And just like how well or like how obvious bug or sap or any other external materials look on that bodywork. And if like the only cleaning that you're real like bare minimum, but like still maintain the nicety of the vehicle, or I guess like being able to see outside of it. Clean the windows, right? If like the bare minimum that you're doing is clean the windows and like you don't clean anything else, can you get away with that for like a year and still not really notice the dirt, even if like you off road or don't? That's what I'm a little bit more like keen on now after cleaning two Teslas and a truck.
So what you're saying is the white colored coat of the Model 3 is what pushed you over the edge. And you're like, nope.
Yes.
All right. So it is
I
Drew's
knew it.
fault. Yeah, you're knocking Pearl.
Yeah,
Yep, I agree with you.
maybe. Okay. Oh, um,
Maybe.
it technically cropped up when my wife owned her Mustang, and we cleaned our cars together at one point when we were dating and all that. And I just had to clean a champagne colored Honda Civic, and man, that was easy peasy because things didn't really show on it too much. It
Yeah.
was kind of that silverish tinge, but also goldish tinge and all that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
the white Mustang, oh my goodness, like it's got a little bit of dirt on it, easy to see.
Done.
And kind of the same with the three, where like you see a small speck of like whatever. It could be like a shell of like I don't know, some leaf or whatever like that. And like it just leaves a mark that you have to scrub at for like I don't know, 15 to 30 seconds and all that. Like that versus the Y where like you don't even see the dirt typically because the silver hides it pretty well. So I guess it's like out of sight, out of mind, kind of like the same with like black seats, right? You're not gonna see other colored dirt or anything like that as easily compared to
Mm-hmm.
the white seats. Yeah. So yeah, yesn't. Uh that
Right.
the that pearl kind of made me realize that that exterior of the Cybertruck is that much more beneficial on like daily living with it, even though like we don't we don't clean our cars too much, but enough to where this round of cleaning all the cars, I'm like, it's not the addition of the third car that I have to clean or that I want to clean. Drew didn't ask me to clean the car, but the fact that like it's a white exterior or just like a painted exterior, no matter if it's a white three or a midnight silver metallic Model Y. I'm kind of tired of like maintaining paint, even though like I haven't really had many paint issues because I got paint protection film on my car. I'm just I would just not want to do this anymore. I'd rather just like power wash the side of it, not worry about it affecting the exterior, like the paint or anything else on it that much. And there we go. All the bugs and guts are gone. And easy to maintain. Just one spray of the power wash and less water as well, right? Because it's smaller nozzle, higher pressure, less wire used. So yeah, maybe the
All
Cybertruck is
right.
that much more sustainable.
Well, thank you for crapping on Drew's car, and thank you everybody else for listening. And we will catch you guys in the next one. Have a good week or
I,
weekend or
I shouldn't
whenever
have
you
said
are checking
anything.
this out. Oh, no, we're keeping this in. Take care, everybody. I will see you all then. Goodbye.
See ya.